welcome to Asset Television News. I am Emmanuel Akwaya. First, the headlines. Bandits adopt High Court judge in Kebbi State. Presidency tackles Atiku, says you are a serial contestant. Elon Musk predicts job loss as AI is set to take over. Now the news in detail. A Kebbi State High Court judge, Justice Faruko Hassan Bonza, has been abducted by bandits. Reports say the High Court judge was abducted by gunmen suspected to be bandits in the early hours of Sunday at his home along Zugaima Road in Bonza local government area of Kebbi.
Some sources who spoke to journalists in Birnin Kebbi State said the attack occurred at about 12 a.m. on Saturday night, shortly after the judge returned from a trip to Sokoto State, adding that though nobody in the house was hurt, while the attackers were shooting sporadically before moving away with him. The police public relations officer, Kebbi State Command, SP Bashir Usman, confirmed the abduction to pressmen. The PPRO said that on receiving the report on his abduction, the Commissioner of Police, CP Umar Mohammed Hadeja, immediately deployed tactical and intelligence operatives to ensure his safe rescue. A senior official of the Kebbi State High Court, who pleaded anonymity, confirmed the incident too, describing it as a sad development for judiciary. Other reports have it that no group has so far claimed responsibility for the judge's abduction. As at the time of filing this report, no group has so far claimed responsibility for the judge's abduction. Mania Osiebe, Asset Television News.
A senior finance operative of the Islamic State West African Province, ISWAP, identified as Musa Usman, has surrendered to troops of Operation Borno State of Operation Hadinkai, Borno State, marking another significant development in the military's ongoing efforts to weaken terrorist networks in the northeast. Usman, who is alleged to have played a key role in managing the finances of the terrorist group, surrendered alongside his two sons amid a fresh wave of defections from ISWAP camp. The military says about 46 terrorists and their family members have recently abandoned insurgent activities and surrendered to security forces. According to Mohammed Gumi, Acting Military Information Officer Headquarters Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai, the surrender followed sustained land and air offensives carried out by troops to destroy terrorist hideouts and disrupt their operations across the region. The surrendered insurgent was identified as Musa Usman, 40, who arrived with his two sons, Abubakar Musa, 10, and Awali Musa, 15. Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum has announced plans to close the internally displaced persons camp in Kondoga local government area as part of efforts to accelerate the state's ongoing resettlement program. The move comes shortly after the successful closure of the Bama IDP camp, which was the largest displacement camp outside Maiduguri, as well as preparations for the shutdown of the Gwoza IDP camp. Governor Zulum, who disclosed the plan during a visit to Kodoga, said the resettlement of displaced persons will be carried out in a dignified and voluntary manner, stressing that no residents will be forced to return to any location against their will. The governor said the government will engage with the displaced communities before the process begins, noting that the return of IDPs must be based on their readiness and willingness. Inspector General of Police Sunday Disu has ordered police officers to shoot at sight anyone found in possession of illegal firearms.
Disu gave the order during a stakeholders meeting at the Government House, Makudi, Benue State. He also delivered the order in line with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directives to end the persistent insecurity in Benue State. The police boss said only authorized security personnel are legally allowed to carry firearms, warning that law enforcement officers will no longer adapt a passive approach to armed criminality. Disu urged Benue State residents to support security agencies with credible intelligence reports, saying public cooperation remains essential in fighting against armed criminality. Mania OCB, Asset Television News.
The Controller General of Customs Adewale Adeniyi has charged public relations officers of the Nigerian Customs Service to move beyond conventional media engagement and embrace strategic communication to drive reforms, strengthen institutional credibility, and sustain public trust. Adeniyi gave the charge at the closing ceremony of the 2026 Nigerian Customs Service Public Relations Conference in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. The four-day conference focused on repositioning corporate communication as a strategic management tool for institutional effectiveness. The Comptroller General said the conference provided a valuable platform for reflection, learning, and institutional renewal at a defining moment in the service's transformation journey, stressing that around the world, communication has evolved from a support service into a strategic management function. Reforms cannot succeed unless they are understood, accepted, and trusted by the people they are designed to serve. He said the growing influence of digital media, artificial intelligence, and real time information requires customs public relations officers to become more proactive, research driven, and intelligence led in communicating government policies and the services operations, adding, every seizure, every reform, every trade facilitation initiative, and every act of service must be communicated professionally and purposefully. The National Public Relations Officer, Deputy Controller Abdullahi Maiwada, described this year's conference as another milestone in the evolution of custom operates communication, saying it builds on the success recorded in Lagos, Gwagwalada, and Kano over the last three editions. According to Maiwada, institutional reforms cannot succeed without an effective communication framework. Asset will be back after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. Presidency has launched an attack on former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, describing his quest for the presidency ahead of the 2027 general election as a flight of fancy, driven by unrelenting personal ambition rather than national interest. In a statement released on Sunday, Special Advisor to President Bola Tinubu on Media and Public Communications, Sunday Dare, said Atiku's repeated attempts to become president over the past 2 decades have failed to advance national unity or strengthen Nigeria's democracy, titled Atiku Abubakar's Flight of Fancy and an Ambition on Crutches. The statement accused the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election of relying on divisive politics while lacking the unifying vision required to lead the country. According to Dare, Atiku has contested for the presidency multiple times under different political parties, including the PDP, Action Congress, All Progressives Congress, and now the African Democratic Congress, ahead of the 2027 elections. The presidential aide argued that Atiku's prolonged presidential ambition had done little to elevate the standards of modern democracy, inclusivity, or national cohesion, alleging instead that it had deepened political and ethnic divisions. All Progressives Congress has announced the composition of its National Campaign Council and its subcommittees for the Osun State governorship election scheduled for Saturday, 15 August 2026. As contained in a notice signed by the party's National Secretary, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Baziru, the National Campaign Council is chaired by Hope Uzodinma, Governor of Imo State and Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum. The council has Mai Malam Boni, Governor of Yobe State, Senator Goswe Obot Akpabio, President of the Senate, and Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, Speaker of the House of Representatives, as co-chairmen. Honorable Ibrahim Kabir Mazari, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Political and Other Matters, serves as Deputy Chairman, while Senator Bawa Jibrin Khan, Deputy President of the state, is the Secretary of the Council. The council comprised of eminent party leaders, governors, members of the National Working Committee, principal officers of the National Assembly, ministers, federal and state legislators, and other key stakeholders, drawn from across the country to drive the party's campaign towards victory. To ensure seamless coordination and effective execution of campaign activities, the party has also constituted specialized sub-committees covering election planning and management, finance and resource mobilization, contacts, grassroots engagement and mobilization, logistics and campaign management, monitoring and compliance, protocol, media and publicity, security, youth mobilization, special interest mobilization, women's mobilization, and secretariat functions. The inauguration of the National Campaign Council and 8 subcommittees is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, July 28, 2026, at the Transcorp Hilton Event Center. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating the controversial Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council is expected to question the Accountant General of the Federation, Shamseldin Ogunjimi, on Monday as its probe enters the third week. The committee, chaired by Yusuf Gadi, is investigating how the PFIPC, which the federal government says is not a legal established agency, allegedly secured office space within the Federal Secretariat complex in Abuja and was allocated more than 1.32 billion naira in the 2026 Appropriation Act. The investigation follows concerns over how the council allegedly operated within government structures despite lacking legal recognition, raising questions about public financial management and institutional oversight. At the hearing, Ogunjimi is expected to explain how the PFIPC obtained a government budget code which enabled it to be listed in the 2026 federal budget despite its disputed legal status. Lawmakers are seeking to determine the budgetary and financial processes that facilitated the agency's inclusion in the government expenditure framework. Since the commencement of the investigation, the committee has heard from several senior government officials, including the head of civil service of the Federation, Didi Walson Jack, the Director of Banking Services at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Abdullahi Hamisu, and the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Tanimu Yakubu. Their testimonies focused on the administrative processes through which the PFIPC allegedly obtained official documentation and became integrated into parts of the federal bureaucracy. The investigation gained further attention following the arrest of Adeyemi Adeniyi, who allegedly presented himself as the Director General of the PFIPC. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has predicted that artificial intelligence and robotics will transform the global economy to the point where money may no longer matter by 2036, as advances in technology drive an unprecedented abundance of goods and services. Speaking during an interview with The Economist editor-in-chief Zani Minton Bedus, Musk argued that money derives its value from the availability of goods and services. He said that if AI-powered systems and robots could produce more than people could consume, the traditional role of money would diminish. Bedus, however, questioned how governments and societies would navigate the transition to such a future, citing concerns over job losses, widening inequality, and political instability caused by widespread automation. She suggested that governments might need to introduce large-scale wealth redistribution measures, higher taxes on capital, or a universal basic income to support workers displaced by AI. In response, Musk proposed that governments could provide direct financial support to citizens through regular payments. He also rejected concerns that such measures would necessarily trigger inflation, arguing that conventional economic principles may not apply in an AI-driven economy where the production of goods and services expand dramatically. And that is the news at this hour. Do well to follow us on all our social media handles for more news updates and programs. On behalf of the news crew, I am Emanuela Akwaya. Thanks for watching.